Today topic is asphyxia death, which is the we're going to study about the when the body is derived of oxygen or pulselessness, the oxygen level less than 20 mmHg, it lead to asphyxia. So basically, there is a classical triad of asphyxia, which is the congestion of the organs, petechiae, that is the pink point hemorrhages, and there is cyanosis also, and it is also there that there is blue discoloration of the skin and the mucous membrane. So the triad is known as asphyxia stigmata, and we have to remember the tritius spots which formed on up to 0.1 to 2 which is present on the neck, on the compression, chest compression, and its most common sites are the conjunctiva. We have to remember these are the four structures which surround the neck, like the jugular vein, the carotid artery, the trachea, and the vertebral arteries. With their respective weights, we have to remember the body has suggested that structure which is surrounding the neck and the proposed pressures experience which is to obstruct them. So we have to remember the Tardis spot mechanism, that is bilateral venous congestion. Now we're going to study about the types of asphyxial death, that is first by suffocation, then there is types of suffocation, that is by environmental lack of oxygen, by choking, by gagging, and by combination of choking and gagging, or by traumatic asphyxia. We have to remember the Mascase echomatic, which is come as in one liner. We have to remember D plus E, which is smoothing plus traumatic asphyxia. We have to remember the cafe coronary, which is given by Roger Hauge. It's an accidental, unexpected, sudden death, which is seen in intoxication. We have to remember this term. Now we have to remember the signs of asphyxia, which is minimum or absent, like the pharyngeal and laryngeal mucosa stimulated, like the vasovagal reflex, which is the vagal inhibition, the mode of death, which is the cardiac arrest, and the laryngospasm. Now we're going to study about the drowning, which is the most common type of drowning is accidental. So there are types of drowning: wet drowning, and there is dry drowning. Wet drowning, the person inhaled the water, which is, and that is by cardiac arrest. The loss of pulmonary suspectant is the most common cause of the death here. It's also known as typical drowning. Now we have to remember its mechanism. Like here it is the ventricular fibrillation. Cardiac arrest occurs in a freshwater drowning, and seawater drowning there is hypernatremia, bradycardia, and it leads to delayed death. Now we have to remember the atypical drowning, which is the dry drowning. That is, the water does not enter the lung, and hence the water inside the pharynx and larynx causes the vagal inhibition, which leads to the cardiac arrest. So dry drowning, that is by the laryngeal span, vagal inhibition, and cardiac arrest. We have to remember delayed drowning also, which is 1 to 2 days after an episode of drowning. So we have to remember the post-immersion syndrome, that is a delayed cause, that is encephalopathy and metabolic acidosis and the electrolyte imbalance, and there is also pneumonia. And there is another important term, that is the hydrocution, which is very important to remember. It is a sudden contact of body with cold water, and it is also known as immersion syndrome or submersion syndrome. That's it. This is an important one-liners. Now we have to remember the postmortem changes in drowning, like antemortem drowning. If the person was alive before when he was drowned, so then the person died due to drowning will have a cadaveric spasm, that is having a clenched hand with grass, and there is also water enter the nose, mouth, and lung, and therefore the death occur because of the churning effect. Mucoid tiny lateral frothing will be seen. Now no mucoid frothing is seen in the cases of poisoning, snakebite, decompression, and epilepsy. We have to remember the Peltoff hemorrhage, that is a very important subpleural hemorrhage, which is the presence of mud particles in trachea, and it is seen in a patient who is unconscious at the time of drowning, and it is seen in antemortem drowning. Now we have to remember the water in the gastrointestinal tract, that is the seen in the antemortem as well as postmortem. So this is seen in both the cases where the flotation of the body is summer, which is the time to 24 hours to 1 to 2 days. Now there is cutis antiserina, which is the goose flash or non-specific finding. We have to remember the washerman hand also, which is a change of skin in palm and sole, that is wrinkling, bleaching, saddening, and cuticle peeled off, that is gloves. Gloves are coming out, or degloving is also known as in this thing. That we have to remember about the what are the tests we conduct in the case of drowning, that is the Gettler test, which is the quantitative determination of chlorine content. Now we have seawater, which is 25% increase in plasma concentration, magnesium and strontium will increase. Antemortem drowning will also have the diatoms, which will leads to the oligohalophilic and polyphilic. The fresh water, basically the diatoms enters into the circulation of the person by and their lung and the pulmonary capillaries and lead to the systemic ulceration, which leads to the loss of the organ circulation. Now the best organ to detect diatom is bone and femur. We have to remember the most commonly used is sternum, and there is important test, which is the SIRT sign, the Chernow-Skin sign, which is the sinus water in paranasal sinus, Sabinsky sign, and the Waddell ring sign, which is the stomach content in the 3-layer form over the top, liquid in the middle, and solid in the bottom. Now we're going to study about the asphyxial death with neck compression, like in hanging. So in hanging, the asphyxial death is by the neck compression, which is of two type: hanging or strangulation. Hanging, the neck compression plus body suspension, while hanging, the most common cause is suicidal. Most common method of suicidal in India is basically hanging. It is of other three types: complex suicide, complicated suicide, and parasuicide. Now we have to remember the types of hanging, that is the complete hanging or incomplete hanging. In complete hanging, the suspension of the body is take place, while in incomplete hanging there is partial hanging. If some part of the body is touch the ground, it comes under incomplete hanging, and it also leads to the death. Then there is the thing called typical hanging, where the knot is placed at the occiput. We have to remember the position of the knot. We have to remember atypical hanging, where the knot is placed at the any other part than occiput. Now the most common death in hanging is because of asphyxia plus venous congestion. Now postmortem hanging, which is because of tardive spot, protrusion of tongue, semen emission, ligature mark, hyoid fracture, thyroid cartilage fracture, and hemorrhage. Antemortem hanging changes. Death due to hanging, the maximum pressure is always on the opposite side. Now there is some same side of the knot we're going to study, that on the same side of the knot the eye remains open and the pupils remain dilated. And there is an important terminology came, which is the LA facies sympathetic, which is due to cervical sympathetic ganglion dilatation, which is an important vital sign here. Now we're going to study about the homicidal hanging, which is a rare and having done using a method called lynching, which is most commonly practiced in North America. We have to remember these terms. Now there is sexual asphyxia also, which is being the autoerotic asphyxia or the cocked spasm. Now we have to remember it's an accidental hanging. It is most commonly seen in masochism or in transvestism. Now if there is crime scene examination, different forms of suicidal hanging can be differentiated. In suicidal hanging, these are the findings. Now we're going to learn about the judicial hanging, which is a punishment in India, method of punishment in India. It is around independence. 61% are killed by this method. Complete hanging, and there is atypical hanging, where the knot is below left angle of mandible or suboral region. We have to remember the angle of the knot. Now there is sudden drop on removal of platform. It causes C2 C3 fracture or dislocation. We have to remember the brainstem damage, sudden loss of support, and there is MSAT sign also. Now we are going to take the most common homicidal method which is being employed is below the chin knot and not presented in India. But the most common delayed cause of death in hanging is because of hypoxic encephalopathy, and there is a Simon sign hemorrhage also, which is especially seen in lumbar and thoracic region. Now we talk about strangulation. So strangulation is neck compression seen in without suspension of body. It is most commonly homicidal. The other causes accidental, judicial, and suicidal. So homicidal strangulation, there is a ligature, manual, homicidal, or elbow mugging may be accidental, or stick mansudella may be accidental. So this is a picture which is showing mugging. Now we're going to study about the postmortem changes in strangulation, which is asphyxia seen with CPC plus it is more prominent. There is tardive spot, there will be thyroid fracture, there will be resistance injuries. That's it. Now we have the manual strangulation, and we have an important adduction fractures here, which is shown here in the example of throttling. Also they have some spots which represent nail marks, intestinosis, and these are the important findings of it. Now that's it for now. We're going to study about the post-mortem techniques, like there's autopsy, there is a medical legal autopsy which is on the request of police, there's pathological autopsy which is done on the academic purpose, then there is a negative autopsy which is done in 2 to 5% cases. Even after that there is no cause of death detected, then it is negative autopsy. Now we have the negative autopsies causes, which is important. We have to remember it by a mnemonic called VOLTA. Then there is obscure autopsy, no definite cause of death. You have to remember virtual autopsy, and there is psychological autopsy, where this is done in the cases of death done in suicidal cases. So the question asks to family members and friends to know the mental status of the person at the time of committing suicide. So we know that what kind of mental status that person is having who had committed the suicide. That's it for this. Now there is another topic which we're going to learn about it, which is the type of incision in postmortem and methods. So the types of incisions are I-shape incision or Y-shape incision, which we done. So Y-shape is start from the acromion process, which is from the A to P, that is from acromion process to pubic symphysis. Now there is modified Y-shape, which is from the start from the suprasternal to behind the ear. Now we have to remember invented by, which is used in infants. Now method of postmortem is a virtuous method, which is most most commonly used. Now there is Rockentensi method, which is done in infants, and there is Ghon's method, which is basically where we separate the organ, and there is EN block, which we remember by CTAP, that is cervical, thoracic, abdomen, and pelvic. These are the separate blocks which are being made to study the methods in postmortem. Now there is another method called as Lettius method, which is large N masses were being, all organs are here taken out simultaneously. Now we're going to study about the techniques for the different organ dissection, that is stomach, which is along the greater curvature, and then there is spinal cord, which is the best technique, which is a posterior method. Also there is a brain from the frontal region, liver and the heart, coronary artery, so as the postmortem clot, which is a red currant jelly clot, chicken fat clot. Now the skull has Beneke technique and bar technique. Okay, now there is a routine postmortem, which is the head is first cavity to be opened. Now in case of poisoning, head is opened first, which is the scent of poison should be better appreciated. So that is why the head is always opened first in these two cases, in the case of a poisoning or in the case of postmortem of a routine person. These are the techniques which we going to use. Now we are going to learn about the different methods of death and cavities which we open. In poisoning, we open the head first. In the last, in the asphyxia, we open the cranium, and the last is neck. In the traumatic, in the infant, we open the abdomen first. Now there is postmortem related terms like undertaker fracture, which is the intervertebral disc fracture, or the postmortem fracture. There is emballed body, that is the best specimen, skeletal muscles from the buttocks, and there is exhumation, which is digging up of the dead body, which is being done on the request of an executive magistrate. According to the CRPC, here is 176 CRPC. There is bone, nail, hair, which are preserved to rule out any case of poisoning. They are always done in daylight. It started early in the morning. There are 6 samples of soils is also being collected from the left, right, upper part, lower part, head, and toe end. So the control soil sample is also being collected. That's it for the chapter. So here are the important points for we discussed for the asphyxia and the autopsies here. These are the important one-liners. It controlled all these important points which were being discussed here are either the last NEET PG's question or the respectable topics which we need to study for completing these topics. Now we're going to study about the medical jurisprudence, that is the application of the law for the medicine purpose and the legal responsibilities of a doctor. So the National Medical Commission, or NMC, which gives the MCI Act in 1956, which is the replacement of Medical Council of India with the National Medical Commission. So there's Schedule 1, that is Indian medical graduates. Schedule 2 is for foreign medical graduates. Schedule 3 is for the sub-clause or Indian medical graduates which are not scheduled in Schedule 1. Now there is Schedule 2, foreign graduates, which are not included in Schedule 2. So the functions of MCI is very important to remember, and the functions of state medical councils. Now there is infamous conduct, that is the serious professional misconduct by a doctor, which comes under issuing warning and notice, penal eraser, or the eraser of the name of the doctor from the medical register, which is confirmed by MCI or NMC. So doctor can appeal to the health ministry. Now there is infamous conduct, that is 6A, which comes under alcoholism, addiction, adultery, abortion, advertism, and the advertism and the association, which was giving the commission. So now there is also a provision for the bribe also, which is a false certificate, which comes under IPC 197. So we have to remember the professional secrecy, which is a doctor must never disclose medical information about a person. There are some exceptions for it, which we have to remember. There is section 166B IPC, which deals with the non-treatment of the victim, that is the criminal case information, police, magistrate. Remember, these are the privileged communications, that is the full disclosure also, that is the doctor must inform the patient of the all relevant medical information about its condition. We have to remember the exceptions also, like the therapeutic privilege. Like an example, in a psychotic patient with suicidal tendency, we do not inform the patients about its condition, we tell its relative or the near ones about it. Now there is Consumer Protection Act, which is the COPRA Act, that tells about the redressal forums from the law. So they have compensation also. Now there is medical negligence, which is very important, or also known as malpractice. The legal implications for it: 304A IPC, 351 IPC, 312 IPC. Now there is negligence also for 336 IPC, which is for life and danger due to negligence, and 337 IPC, which is for the hurt due to negligence. Now there is civil and criminal negligence. So the civil negligence is called as tort, while the criminal negligence is known as the willful gross negligence. We have to remember the example of it is overdose of wrong prescription, and here example is the forgotten instrument, swab in the body, or amputation of the wrong limb. So we have to remember important term here also, that is res ipsa loquitur, which is a fact sufficient to prove negligence of a doctor, which can be a proof of civil and criminal negligence. No contributory and negligence from the patient is could be acceptable. Now we're going to study about the defenses in the medical negligence, that is the informed consent or the res judicata or the unavoidable complication or a contributory negligence, that is a defense in civil cases, and the exceptions are there, like the last clear chance of the doctrine, if doctor missed the last chance to inform patient about damage or there is avoidable consequences doctrine. Now there is error of judgment also, that is a vicarious liabilities. Now we have to remember the difference between mercy killing and its type, which is active and passive. So active killing is like painless death for incurable terminal disease by an active method, like drugs are being given, and in passive we basically withdraw the life support system like a ventilator, or we shift the patient from the ICU care. Or in India there is only passive euthanasia is being given, which is legalized in 2015 in Maharashtra, which is the decision to be confirmed by Supreme Court. So there's countries which follow active and passive methods like Netherlands, Belgium, Sweden, Thailand, and Switzerland. So the Section 13 of Indian Contract Act also tells about the further types, which is the expressed consent, there is implied consent, there is informed consent, and there is exceptions also, emergency mass immunization, or there could be a blind consent, or it could be a subsequent consent. Now we have to remember the consent related IPCs, that is 87 and 89, and 85, that is 87 IPC, which tells you about the person less than 18, more than 18 years of age can give consent to its condition, and child less than 12 years of age cannot give its consent. Now the IPC, the important term which we have to remember regarding these IPCs, like the 351 IPC, which is given for the examination of a patient and its assault. Now we have informed refusal, non-fit injuria, that is a patient cannot claim compensation for damages when consent is given willingly. Now there is in loco parentis, which is the consent given by police, guardian, principal in the absence of the parent. Or there is a borrowed servant doctrine, which is a person who borrowed an employee is responsible for the negligence by that employee. So that's all it for the consent. Now we have medical etiquettes and ethics, that is the doctor's responsibilities and duties, that is the medical ethic rules of conduct which were courtesy between a medical professionals. Medical ethics are moral principles of a doctor towards its patient, society, state, and it is decided by the MCI, and these are the being self-imposed, and the example for a repeated advertisement, it is being considered as unethical. So that's it for the medical jurisprudence. So in this we have covered the medical jurisprudence, and we have covered all those deaths regarding the asphyxia, the drowning. That's it.